Okay, so this weekend, ZywOo just picked up his 30th career MVP, and also it was Apex's 33rd birthday. So two 30s in the same weekend. And also Vitality, of course, went 6-0 in PGL Cluj and won against PARIVISION in the grand final, which was, in my
Another
opinion,
3-0.
something.
Another
Yeah,
30.
yeah. So I mean, it also was something pretty much like we saw it coming, but at the same time, anyway, 30 and counting, right? So, but the real question here for me, at least, is this Vitality dominance something good for the scene? Is it good for Counter-Strike that Vitality is just winning everything? And I think that's something that we'll go over during the episode, but well, welcome to Win Condition again. Okay, so we'll start this segment. I actually brought a name to it. It's the receipts. I don't know if you guys like it, but that's what I call it.
You like that? I like it a lot.
Let's go forward with this because, as Sam pointed out to me in the last time we did this is probably the most interesting thing we have in our show. So
it's the unique selling point, yeah.
I think so let's go right ahead. Sam, please take it away.
Yeah, sure. So something new, first time on this podcast that we'll be seeing it, but it's something that I love looking at. The first graph I've got here it's basically just showing you team structure and the different play styles of the teams at Cluj. And I love this because it kind of checks out with your eye test again, and that's always like the first benchmark for a good stat, right? Is whether or not you remember the matches that were played and you're like, yes, this distribution, yes. So you'd look at the teams in the top left. It's most of the teams that you consider some of the better teams, maybe firepower wise. They tend to prefer this late contact, loose default kind of style, and Falcons are by far the biggest abusers of this, which in my opinion actually explains quite a lot, right? Because you look at Falcons play and you think about how unstructured and uncoordinated they look sometimes, and it's like, yeah, but they're going to choose to play like this, right? It's a Nico team. They're going to have not a lot of structure. The IGL isn't going to be that micromanagey of all the players. It is just going to be like a Scooby-Doo default every round, like split up and look for clues gang type thing. So yeah, and then, you know, the exact polar opposites. You've got little squads who maybe their firepower isn't that great, but they have like this tactical advantage over the other teams. And I'm thinking of, you know, 3D Max, Mongols, Heroic, maybe Astralis a little bit. The way they play is a lot more close together, a lot more structured, a lot more focused around the pack. And maybe I should have done this earlier, but just to explain what these axes are actually showing, if it isn't that clear. Obviously, into a round, players will take opening duels, right? And we all know opening duels, but opening duels is only the first duel that happens in a match. But actually, duels happen after that as well, right? And they happen in an order. So if instead of just caring about opening duels, if you look at the average time into the round that a player takes a duel, and you average that for all the players on a team, you get this kind of metric of aggression, right? Where they like taking early contact, they like doing these kind of rush plays, these kind of fast defaults, whatever. Or on the other side, you have like Mouse and ParaVision, who are happy to just wait out like the majority of the round and do some like ridiculous 20-second execute and get the bomb down, you know, old Navi style, right? So yeah, that's what we're looking at here.
So I've got a couple of things I wanted to mention here. One is that this absolutely unequivocally proves like exactly why Falcons have so many 3v5s where they run out of time, or, you know, like, because they're always under time pressure, because they take fights later than everyone else. Later than ParaVision is crazy. Like, you have Kiyosuke, just send him in. Secondly, it's interesting. There's very little in the bottom left quadrant. I suspect that's probably because bottom left is probably not a very good idea. But I do wonder if James' old team, Virtus Pro, would have been a little lower than ParaVision are. ParaVision are surprisingly like spread out, whereas I think VP were actually quite a tight pack generally. From what I remember. So I wonder if they were actually be a little bit lower. I mean, average time of the first gunfight. The fact that there's two teams slower than a James team is quite something. It's also quite interesting how many of the like quote unquote good teams break towards the top left and how many of the lesser teams go towards the bottom right. Some of that is a necessity, like as you say, like these are the more tactical teams. But I wonder if some of it is correlation isn't causation, but there's a pretty strong correlation there between being tier 2 and having a tighter pack.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're exactly right, and I will just note that, like, obviously there's no one like far bottom left, but PARIVISION and Aurora are kind of in that. Like they're a little bit beneath the line, right? And it's also interesting that the top right is like non-existent as well, except for Carrigan's FaZe, which is like you look at his calling style, and he is one of one, isn't he? Like no other team is like Carrigan's teams. Like and he's normally the piece that's doing the aggression, and he's normally doing it like he's running up B ramp on Ancient by himself while his team is like just spread out all over the map doing whatever they want, right? Yeah, I like it. I like the way that you can see the different styles.
I do think it makes a lot of sense to see FaZe in that top right. That was another thing I thought immediately. I was like, is that's the thing you look at in any graph? Who's in each corner, and does that make sense? You see 3D Max, I'm like, yeah, they're super team heavy. You see FaZe Clan, I'm like, yeah, they are loose and aggressive. And you see Falcons, I'm like, yeah, they run out of time all the time. And then I'm like, oh yeah, PARIVISION should be the furthest. They should be in one corner. Like you don't know which corner of each graph, but they're always going to be near a corner in one of the graphs. But yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. This.
One thing I wanted to outline, or rather two things that I wanted to outline, is first, Vitality is just the average. Like
yeah,
average on both axes. And it's quite interesting to see that the number one team undisputably is the average, right? It's something I think you could learn, right? Because imagine if Vitality was where Falcons is, or where, I don't know, where 3D Max is. We would see like, okay, so they're doing something different that is actually working. But then Vitality is just the average. They're just better than everyone else.
Yeah, so, yeah, that is true.
They found the balance. Yeah, exactly. It's one of the
you can't
many
look at
things
this and go. You can't look at this and go, oh, we should copy Vitality and be more like that, because they're just bang in the middle. You can't actually learn anything if you're a team who isn't Vitality. So, oh, we just need ZywOo, I think.
It's pretty fun to actually take that into account, because they're bang in the middle, and they're just better than everyone else. So it's quite fun. The other thing I wanted to outline is that from all of those teams in the bottom right corner, the only one that is actually performing against, like, let's say top 5 teams is Mongols, right? And it's fun. I wouldn't say funny, but it's interesting to see how they are the only team in that sector of the graph that is actually doing good. So why are they doing good? That's one thing I would like to know from you guys. Like, why do you think they are the only team in that sector that can actually fight against the teams in the top 5?
Because Blitz is a top 3 IGL. No, really? That's the angle you want? Okay. I go completely the other way.
I actually do think Mongols are... part of the reason they've been able to like play like this is I don't actually think they're... I mean, they are tactically good, but they're not like mind-bending. Like I don't look at them and I don't feel like when I watch a Mongols game I'm getting smarter. I feel like they're a pretty smart team. They're like, you know, they play like a top 10 team. But I think what has often bailed them out, especially when they had Senzu, was like, oh yeah, Senzu Mazinia. I think Techno is like mechanically ridiculous, but he's just like not misprofiled, but like he's wasted almost. But he's the best player they can get for that position. It's just, I feel like he just should be in a better position sometimes. And Blitz as an IGL is insane as a player as well.
The reason I think it can't be Firepower though is because they lost their best player, their star rifler, and they replaced him with someone from, I think it was the Huns that Cobrazir used to play for, and he was nothing special on the Huns. Like, he was all right, but he wasn't like a star waiting for a come up, you know? And they turned him into a player that's competing with like the best of the best. So I think that has to speak wonders about Blitz's system, and maybe Blitz and Mara, if you want to give the coach credit as well, and how resilient it is. And I think you definitely get a lot more resilience when you're playing one of these pack-heavy T-side structures, because everyone has a role, and it's a known role, and it's quite mechanistic. Whereas you look at like a Carrigan team or Falcons or like one of these teams that's higher up and not as pack heavy, it really is just about stars popping off and performing and using their intuition to sort of solve the rounds themselves.
Yeah, I think for them to be as good as they are, it has to be a bit of both, to be honest. Like because like when you look, they're very playstyle wise, they're very similar to B8. Now, what makes them better than B8 is both a mixture of their system is just a little bit better, even though on this it looks very similar. Like it is obviously tighter, but also they just have better players than B8. Like as I say, Blitz as a fragger is one of the better IGLs probably in the world, certainly at this level. Techno is pretty overqualified for his roles. Mazzinho is very, very good. You say Cobra Zero, that's the one that makes you think, okay, maybe they've just got the special sauce here. But like, I didn't watch Cobra Zero on the Hun, so it's entirely possible that he was just like actually very good on that team. Like, if you watched him, you're like, oh, okay, no, this guy's mechanically got it. He just needs to be plugged and played somewhere. Like, that is a possibility but I didn't watch the Huns. I'm not going to pretend I did. So it's all conjecture at this point. Like, I think it's a bit of both. I believe in Asia, Mara is very, very highly regarded. So I think it might be a coach thing as well, as you mentioned. I don't know. They're super fun, the Mongols. Like, the fact that they're still here is crazy.
You were just talking about Mara, and one thing watching the Furia game specifically, I think there's not. This is not a discussion that Fallen is one of the best IGLs in the game currently. I wouldn't. I don't know if top 3, but definitely top 5 playing right now. And the Mongols just read Furia like a book. Like in the game, I think it was quarterfinals if I'm not mistaken. Furia was just demolished, and it pains me a lot to say that because we know I am a Furia fan, and it was just like a no contest. I think it was 13-3 on Mirage, and then like the last map was also, I don't remember specifically the result, but it was also quite brutal. So I don't know. I think that, as you said, their system is working very well, and I think that, of course, after they got away from Senzu and got Carbazarian, there's this time between like getting a new player and the player actually performing. And now I think is the time that actually Cobra Zero is starting to activate in this team. And it's quite surprising that they're getting as far as they are. Because, after they got Senzu kicked, everyone thought, okay, this team is just going to implode because their star player is just gone. And now they're actually proving pretty much everyone wrong. And I think that's good. That's good for the scene because it keeps the fire burning, and it's again fun to see that they are this outlier against the top teams, and I think that's just cool. Anything else before going to the next graph?
I don't think so. Maybe a closing comment is just, obviously you mentioned earlier that like a lot of the poorer teams are in the bottom right, and I think that's testament to how like you can get so much more out of lower firepower teams when you play like a pack heavy system. Like, 3D Max, I can't think of a single player that would even be close to top 20 on 3D Max, and yet they are somehow like almost making playoffs at these events like consistently. And like
they're like old big.
Yeah, exactly. And it's got to be a structural thing at that point when you can't look at any of the players and say, I would want this player on a better team.
3D Max are very, very good at finding like a hole in your system and abusing it. Bit like PARIVISION, but faster.
Okay, yeah, well, that's that's the first graph.
Should we move on to the next one? That took a while.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is interesting. So I think it's
yeah. And also, before going on to the next graph, fucking nice job, Sam. This is very cool to see. Like, this is the first time I see something like this, and it's very like illustrating of how the actual systems worked, and I really like it. Good job, Sam.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go to top 10 overperformers and just take it away.
Okay, yeah. So probably no surprises here to anyone that actually watched the games, but what I've done here is I've basically just taken all the kills, and obviously we have that dual swing model that's trying to predict the number of kills based on like the situations they're in and whether or not they should have actually won their gunfights or not. And in the case of ZywOo, he's plus 37. In the case of Flames, he's plus 36. So I know a lot of people actually were thinking Flames should be in, maybe not winning it, but in the conversation for winning the MVP of this event. And I can't really disagree with the people that think that way, because if you consider like the type of player that Flames is and how important he was to winning some of those rounds where, you know, maybe ZywOo was doing his classic slow start thing, and especially some of those maps against PARIVISION in the grand final, like, I don't know. I think he could definitely go either way. He had moments, but like some of those were close, and Flames was the difference maker.
Yeah, Flames was so good, and I think it was map 3. He was fantastic in Flames. Was
Dust 2
and Inferno.
Dust 2 and Inferno. Yeah, he was literally like getting double kills by himself just to open up bomb sites where he probably shouldn't have been at all. So yeah, I think you can't really give enough praise to those players, right? And you go down the rest of the list and it's like, it's all the classic stars, you know, it's all the players you'd kind of expect to be there. Like Kiyosuke, 5th, even though he had a really, really bad performance in, what was it, the core or the semi-final?
The semis, I think. Semis, he did bad.
I think so.
It was against PARIVISION, wasn't it? And he had like a 0.86 rating or something like that. It was really poor by his standards.
That would have been quarterfinals, I think, because PARIVISION beat Mouse in the semis, didn't they? Yeah.
Quarters then, yeah. And even still, he somehow comes out 5th highest overperformer in dual swing terms, which
I think if you look a little closer, maybe it's he just got thrown to the wolves in that game. Like maybe he just had like unwinnable duels constantly. So like he just wasn't punished by dual swing.
It's possible for sure, yeah.
What I find interesting about this is when you look at, so obviously it's sort of modelled on expected goals, like the name certainly is. When you look at overperformers over a short period in expected goals, it's rarely just the best players that you expect. So like I think at the end of last season, it was like Brian and Buemo at Brentford was like massive, it was like double his XG. And it's like, over a short period of time, it happens. Like, you just massively overperform. What's interesting in CS is actually you can sort of model... I mean, again, there's only one tournament, so it'll be interesting to see if it sticks. Like, you can sort of model... Actually, you can actually model firepower using this, by the looks of things. Like, all of these players on here, to the eye test, you'd be like, yeah, they win more duels than they should. Maybe the one you were thinking is like, I don't know, 9-10. But he was... Like, when you watch this tournament, you're like, oh, no, he's winning duels that he just shouldn't be winning. So I think it's interesting that actually this match is, like, I think this player is good. Is it because they're taking good duels? Is it because they're winning duels that they shouldn't win? It's a mixture of both, but they are actually winning more duels than they should, which isn't always the case in football. Like, some elite goal scorers just don't overperform. They're actually, I think Lewandowski, like, doesn't at all. And he just still scores 100 goals a year, so...
I think it's testament to the idea that like a lot of gunfights in CS are just 50-50s or close to, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like obviously with XG, it's like if you're one of these players that has massive XG over performance, you're probably not intended to be like a goal scorer. Like you're not really set up as like a primary striker. It's not really your job to be like a production engine. Whereas in CS, everyone's taking fights against everyone. And so when you see in these overperformers like a support player, you know they've done a really good job. And when you see star players, you know they're just doing their job well.
Yeah, that's fair. Totally fair.
Anyway, more interesting to me, actually, I think, is the underperformers. And I think you'll probably agree because it's kind of the flip side story. There are a lot of IGLs here, but not IGLs are equal. And in the case of Madja, he had a really bad event.
He's... Again, it makes sense. He's not good at this level of play. I don't think he doesn't seem to have many pop-off performances. So Alexi B's on here. Alexi B has it in him to just carry like a quarterfinal, like, or a late group stage game. Like he actually does. I'm not a big fan of Alexi B, but he's mechanically quite gifted. Hooksy, for all his will have some horrendous games, but he will also occasionally. He's been Australis' best player. Apex, we know all about. Like, I don't think like a major. I think he might have had one this tournament, but like generally, he does not have those performances in him. He is one of the weaker players I can remember at this level. So it makes sense to me that he's there. What's more worrying is the two players next to him.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to set up, actually, because we've established, you know, Major, one of the poorest performing, even amongst IGLs players, and yet right next to him you have the star player of PARIVISION. You have Nota. And Nota, to me, was so disappointing this tournament. I saw so many mistakes from him. And I do genuinely believe that if Nota were playing anywhere near the level that he was, like, the last couple of tournaments we've seen him, they really could have been in with a shout of winning this event.
What I will say is this is raw data, as in it's raw numbers. Nota's got 300 kills. So, like, being 20 under at 300 is not as bad as being 20 under at 100 kills, like Yabi. Which is, you know, because if you extrapolate, Yabi would be on like -60 at Nota's numbers, which isn't how it works. But you understand what I mean. Like on a per round or per 24 round base, whatever you want to do, like Nota's numbers aren't that bad, but he's also supposed to be overperforming, which is more the issue.
It's also sorted by raw percentage. So the order of them, yeah, it just so happens that it aligns perfectly with the averages. But
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, essentially Nota, like, yes, he has way more kills because he played more maps, right? He made it all the way to the grand final and played 3 of them. But at the same time, you know, he took the duels he took and he lost considerably more of them than you'd want from him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it does feel like he's in his roles the weakest member of PARIVISION. I kind of thought that, but as soon as AW went, I was like, okay, like Nota's the next one that you'd upgrade, but I kind of don't want them to change either because they're flying, and I don't just want them to go and get Fame and Flit and just be Virtus Pro. In a way, like I kind of like what they're building. And say Belchanok's on here as well. That one surprised me because I feel like Belchanok was pretty solid, but I think he must have had a game or two that wasn't ideal.
I think we'll get to Belchanok because we can go to the role breakdowns now because, you know,
yeah, let's do that.
As with before, you know, I like comparing them by role just to see, and I've added the target lines as well. So I guess we'll start with the AWPers because always a good place to start. And I will say that m0NESY was a better AWPer than ZywOo this event, according to Duel Swing, and kind of according to my eye test as well. And by that, I don't necessarily mean that, you know, m0NESY was a better player or that he was more impactful or anything like that. I just mean with the AWP, I think m0NESY was more productive. Most of the ZywOo highlights that you saw this event were with a rifle, right? Everyone remembers that like insane like 1v2 clutch on Inferno where he snaps to the guy Banana. Some of ZywOo's best work is rifle work.
Yeah. To be fair, the same is also kind of true of m0NESY. He does a lot of work with the rifle as well. He's very, very good with it. But I think he AWP'd more this event.
A lot more. He was the highest percentage AWPer by quite some margin this tournament.
I think the elephant in the room here is quite obviously James, right?
Yeah, because it's impressive to me.
That one I am surprised about. I am just really like that. Really surprised me when I saw it. I was like, that does not make sense to me. But then I thought about it, and I'm like, did I see him win a difficult duel at any point this event? And like, he didn't take many difficult duels, so he only really takes the easy ones. And I definitely saw him miss shots that he wouldn't normally. And I was like, yeah, maybe he actually did kind of underperform. But then you think Nota underperformed, Belchanok underperformed, James underperformed, and they made the grand final. Like, I wonder if you remove the grand final, would their numbers a lot better?
They would. Another thing that does not go in PARIVISION's favour is that they are a team who we all know likes to play 13-11 matches. They don't ever have stomps in their favour, but they do get stomped sometimes. And so what that means is a lot of these stats that are like performance driven will be heavily weighted by the fact that they just lose some like 13-3, but they win the series overall with 2 close games, right? So
yeah, like the grand final, they got stomped in one of them, and the other 2 were close, but they just happened to lose them. Yeah, that is fair, but still, I'm still surprised to see James down there, especially some of the names he's below. Like the fact that Brokey is positive on this is, in some ways, very worrying for FaZe, because if he's winning duels he's not supposed to do, what duels is he taking? Because if he's overperforming, what the fuck is he doing? He can't be taking any good duels.
yeah, and Brokey's one of these AWPers as well, right? That isn't necessarily set up like you think about the AWPers that are just absolutely force fed the AWP. It's like Monacy, Molodoy, Jame. They're like the 3 who, like on average, something like 55% of the time they have an AWP in their hands. They have an AWP more times than they don't have an AWP while they're alive in rounds of Counter-Strike. And then you compare that to someone like Brokey, wonderful, like Sunpius as well as like this. They're more closer to like 35-40%. So they still have the AWP, but like they're having to do so much more work on SMGs, on pistols, on rifles. Like they're not just having the entire system funneled into them, right? Yeah. And so, yeah, in the case of Brokey, it makes sense he's a little bit positive. But in the case of Jame, it's like everything in the team is going into him. So if he isn't carrying, something's wrong.
And yet they made the grand final.
So
I actually do think Jame might be. I don't know where, but he's in the top 5 IGLs, and I really want to put him higher than 3rd. I really do want to put him 2nd.
Now or all time?
Now.
Okay. Few.
I mean, I'd like to do it all time, but that would be insane to do so. But like, you've got Apex first, and even then, I'm like, well, he does have the best tools. But like, I do think Apex is a fantastic in-game leader. And then I'm thinking like, every other team is horrendously flawed. Like Falcons look like they don't have an IGL, and I like Kixan. I don't know what's going on there, but Mouse, again, they have the same problems they've always had. They've never been able to fix them, which leads to just a coaching in-game leader issue. And then you're getting to like Fallen. Okay, the Fallen is a reasonable shout for 2nd. Blitz is a reasonable shout for 2nd. But like, we've had 2 grand finals in 3 tournaments for PARIVISION. Like Jame isn't even, he's not even playing that well. Is he just the 2nd best in-game leader in the world?
Pretty good transition to the IGL graph, actually, because that's the one we've got next up. So.
Yeah. And like, before you start, let me just say that the IGL dual swing thing always gets me.
It's harsh, isn't it? It's really
I mean, look at B Group, man. I mean, Bane did not perform well this tournament, but fuck, that's how much? Minus 260, 70, something like that. And damn, it just hurts to see. And then you have Major, who we just said that didn't do a good tournament. And then he's like, I don't know, maybe 40, 30 points higher than Bigu. And anyway.
Yeah, and I think Bigu Zero especially, this is one of the reasons why, you know, dual swing kind of makes sense as a concept, because if you think about the IGLs who kind of play for themselves more, maybe they're a bit more selfish, and they like to, you know, take an AK instead of taking an SMG and utility. Like, Bigu Zero was one of the forerunners of that type of IGL, right? And he kind of still does that to some extent now, even though he's got a bit better firepower, which means that when he's doing that and he's having bad tournaments, like, he is not viewed favorably by this.
Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense. It's really funny to me as well. Every player here is an IGL except Sway.
All IGL things, man.
And he actually he's been doing pretty well. He's which is good. I mean, that's part of the reason PARIVISION are able to like perform, is like they have a better player in these roles than everyone else does, except I guess Mouse, because they have an AWP IGL. But it's also a 4th player who's negative on dual swing.
I mean, the joke is there are 2 players here that aren't IGLs, and one of them is Pro LAN. But I don't know.
Well, yeah, sure, yeah, fine. But He is the IGL,
Yeah,
technically,
yeah.
I think.
In name only, I think. Very, very nominal.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
Something wrong about seeing the line at -100 and saying this is what you should be doing. This is what you should be aiming for. Very mean.
I mean, IGLs do just lose a lot of 50-50s. Like, it just is the case, unfortunately. It's one of those things where when you've got to keep your eye on the minimap and you're, like, microing people via comms and, you know, you can't have your eyes on the crosshair at all times. So you're going to lose, some gunfights you should be winning.
Yeah, of course.
People who should not be losing many gunfights, I guess, we'll probably start with the Star Riflers. It's probably a good place to start.
Yeah.
And this has been a little bit controversial recently because historically, Star Riflers tend to be more productive than second Star Riflers. But in the last couple of events, these like second Star roles have actually been populated by players like Keserato and Nico, which is like pumping their numbers up pretty considerably. But amongst these Star Riflers, like Kiyosuke, Xantares, interestingly, Heavy God snuck into this, and Rops, which makes sense because even though they are like anchors and like supportive in terms of the positions they play on maps, they kind of are Star Riflers, aren't they? Like, you think about the amount of resources they get. Like, Rops is getting dropped an AK all the time.
Yeah, I'm not calling Rops a support player. Mezzi is their quote-unquote support player. But again, like, you know, it's even then. But the fact they have Rops and Spinks. Oh no, sorry, Spinks isn't. Ignore me. I forgot that Spinks isn't on Vitality anymore for a second.
Yeah, so this this tie rifler thing, it's just, I don't know, because you got NPL at like 0, which is okay, but then you go to the negative side and you got Yakindar, who personally I thought did a very okay mid tournament, but then the average for the star rifler role, or actually the goal for the star rifler role, should be around 50, right? 50%. So you got Yakindar at what, -80 or something like that, which is not great. And then of course you got Noda, who just last podcast we talked about him, that he did an amazing tournament and he was one of the highlights of the tournament. And now he's at, I don't even know how much, like -90 or something like that. And then you got like PDI and Bodhi, who just didn't perform at all.
They were there as well, yeah. Yeah, I think Nota and Kiyosuke are actually interesting because there seems to be this trend with like young Russian riflers recently where I think you put it best. You said they're like feast or famine. And I think that's definitely true, right? Because Nota can go from being like genuinely a front runner for tournament MVP and then go to like the worst star rifler of an event. And the same thing with Kiyosuke, right? He can go from completely non-existent to like the best star rifler of an event. I don't know what it is about these players that makes them so up and down, but maybe it's their age, maybe it's the region they come from, maybe they just have some growing to do. I'm not sure.
I think it's an age thing as much as anything. Xantares is still up there at like 30, which is like he's been up there ever since for like 5 years now. Like, but he didn't hit that consistency for a long, long time. Like, and you look at the other players up there. Okay, Lanx is young, but he doesn't do this that often either. Heavy God, Rops, Spinks, Bit have all been around for years, and they can consistently keep this up. Whereas, like, Yakindar plays like a lunatic, so he's always going to be inconsistent. But like, I do think age does play a big factor in that. Like, Kiyosuke at his peak is one of the best riflers in the world. It's just he needs to find that level more consistently. But the Falcons don't help him in that scenario either. Like, they're very up and down. So
we spoke about their structure earlier, right? It's not like he's got a comfortable, reliable position.
Exactly.
I just wanted to say that a few weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago or something like that, Garmor, this YouTube Counter-Strike person, did a video on what would be the best age groups, age teams for Counter-Strike. And I think it was just very funny, like, as we're talking about age and how you know, players develop over time. And like by the end of the video is like a 17-year-old team and like 28-year-old team matching against each other. So it's quite funny. And shout out to Garmer. I like your videos. Anyway. So second, we got finally actually, we got the support.
We got the
rifle,
second stars,
so-
actually. Sorry.
Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah.
Skipped over them. We've done it slightly out of order. Yeah,
Every Paravision player is negative. Every single one.
it's rough, isn't it? It is rough for Paravision.
How they made the grand final. He's the best in-game leader in the world. I'm convinced.
This is kind of why I say that, you know, Paravision did not really deserve to be in the grand final. I mean, I know they did. They won the games, but like it really should have been like a Falcons Vitality grand final or something. Like Paravision, they really did, like, by the most minuscule percentages, managed to scrape a grand final appearance, and nobody thought they were going to win that. Like, nobody.
You know, in Portuguese, we got this popular saying that there is no bad goal, there's no ugly goal. So they got to the grand final, right? So that's what counts. But like looking at the graphs is just funny because every single one of them is negative.
It's just awful. It's just, every single one of them played badly and they won. It's probably James' magnum opus. It's exactly what he wants.
Imagine if they got like everyone positive. It would just be like 13-0 for the 3 games.
They did it Blast Bounty and they won it, right? That's the difference between this and that. But no, the biggest one from this graph for me actually is Flames.
Stare.
Because or Stare, but no, Flames for sure, right? Because like Flames is not set up to be like a star, really. He's actually a lot more selfless than people give him credit for. And you think about like the openers on some other teams, like your Kindar, for example. Your Kindar does get to make a lot of plays that he wants to make. Same with like Xantares or whatever. Xantares, I don't have a graph for this, but he's actually the most resource heavy rifler in tier 1 Counter-Strike. He gets everything he wants. And you look at Flames and it's like him and Mezzi are like almost like supportive more than stars in a way, so that they can support like ZywOo and Rops being able to do whatever they want. So the fact that he's performing this well is really a testament, as I said earlier, to how great a player he can be when he has his like pop-off tournaments.
Yeah. I was very surprised to see Stare all the way up there. I'm not a big Stare believer. I know you are. And I mean, this is more fuel to your fire. I was also, I mean, as I'm sure you know, I was a big Malbs fan way before G2. It's nice to see him back up there because I feel like he's had a pretty rough time of it recently. Has his roles changed? Because I seem to remember when they signed Heavy God, like he lost a lot of like resources. He was like became quite supportive for a while. I don't know if his roles have changed or this is just he's just figuring it out now, but I don't know. Malbs to me should always be performing above Duel Swing no matter what position he's in because he's just mechanically ridiculous. It's just you might as well give him difficult duels because he's more likely to win them than anyone else. But he's also like he doesn't get many easy kills when you watch Malbs. That's what I always think.
On the G2 point, G2 and FaZe are actually very alike in this regard. They sort of don't have star riflers. They just have like 3 riflers that are kind of mixed. They kind of do it by committee, right? And, you know, in G2's case, Mulbs, Heavy God, and Matisse are like if you plot them in terms of how much resources they get, it's Sunpius like a little bit above them, but even so a bit less than most AWPers. It's the 3 riflers, and then it's Hunter sort of not really being an IGL and being more like an additional rifler, if you know what I mean. So yeah, their structure is very weird compared to most teams. Anyway, final one.
That makes a lot of sense.
Final one, and actually the final one this time
because it's taken longer than we expected.
Yep.
As always, like I don't even know why I put minutes in the script anymore.
Yeah, so support players, you know, same story again, really. Like the most interesting point here for me is probably actually Frozen, because I don't know if you've noticed this with Frozen recently, but he really has a tendency when it gets to playoffs or when it gets to like the more important matches to start playing like he's a supportive piece instead of a top 15 player in the world. Like he decides to like really dial it down whenever it gets to later into an event.
I'd not noticed FaZe get late into an event for a while, so I don't really I mean, all jokes aside, I hadn't noticed that. I will definitely look out for it now. I think this one more than others seems to follow my eye test. I think this one looks about right. I mean, not that the others don't, but this one just, I'd be like, if you told me to, maybe I wouldn't have put Kensizor up there. But the rest of them, I'd be like, yeah, if you gave me this list of players, it'd be like Yimfat, Makazi, Frozen, Soulfly, Techno. I'd probably would have put Mezzy higher, but he wasn't brilliant this event. Yeah, yeah, I think it all sort of checks out. Again, Susp doing all right, but none of them were brilliant other than like Yimfat and I guess Kensizor in what can't have been very many games.
It's funny for me to see I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name correctly. Kenzizor, I'm sorry. But it's funny for me to see him doing so well, and B8 actually kind of fumbled the event, right? They just won against Heroic, which is kind of, I don't know if expected, but like a reasonable result. And then got, I think they won one map against the Mongols, and that was it. So it's interesting to me to see a player in a team that theoretically did so bad in the tournament to actually be overperforming every single other player in the same role. But then again, I guess it was just tournament, right? He did well, and his team didn't. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Bit of a structural thing for sure, because as we mentioned earlier, Bait are one of these teams that like does it by committee. They're very pack heavy and they're quite quick to make contact. So, like, is Kenzizor really a support player? Does Bait really have a support player? Like, if you have to sort them into 5 roles, then according to my algorithm at least, Kenzizor would be there. But I don't know. I think you could like with a lot of validity say that Bait is just 5 guys.
Pray and pray. No, I would agree. So, any final thoughts before going into the actual storyline of the event?
I think so.
Okay, good. So let me just see one thing. Yeah, so precisely 30 minutes after my scripted time, let's go into the PGL PGL recap. Okay, so PGL Cluj just happened, and we kind of spoke about it in like bits and pieces in the last segment. But let's go with like the actual storyline for what happened, right? So in the first stage, we got Foot, G2, Astralis, FaZe, B8 or Base, Heroic, Pain, and 3D Max eliminated. I think here the biggest outlier for me is Foot and FaZe, right? Because Foot, because they did actually very well. They won games they shouldn't be winning, in my opinion. And of course FaZe, because they did again a phase, right? They went 1 and 3 in the tournament, and it's just, I don't know. Like I think I said this in the last 2 episodes actually, but how long does FaZe have again to start performing before they get a cut, right? Like, what needs to happen before they do something? You know the meme with the stick, like just do something. I don't know.
They need a new Pepsi sponsorship or something. I think they're broke. I don't think they have any money. I think they I suspect they've been waiting for Carrigan to retire for a while, and Unk just keeps going. And he's like, Carrigan's never been a good fragger, but he's horrendous at the moment, and it doesn't help because like they could do with a little bit of extra firepower because none of them are playing particularly well. As you mentioned, Frozen becomes a support player. He doesn't look the same player he was. Brokey, everyone knows what Brokey is at this point. I don't need to say anything. And then you've got oh my god, my mind's gone blank. Twist,
Twist,
and Jacob. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, obviously 2 titans of the game. Twist is probably still absolutely brilliant if you just take him out of this. Like, I think second half of last year he was like the highest rated CT player in the world, which is just bananas because he was on a garbage team. And it's like Just please get Twists out of there. I at this point I want FaZe to make changes because I don't want Twists on this team. I don't care what FaZe do. I'd like to see Brokey go to just like Gamer Legion or something and just, you know, because Gamer Legion are a team who actually do like recover careers. Like I want to see him go to a team who want to build around him and let him kind of do what he wants and see if he can be good again. Because we know Brokey at his peak was MVP of IEM Katowice. Like he's not a bad player. No, I'll rephrase that. He was not a bad player. He currently is a bad player. And that's just sad. That's my main reason for wanting FaZe to change. I just want Twist out of there because he's
Gamer Legion as well. Like it's actually a good shout because Gamer Legion have needed an experienced AWPer like for ages. That's like the one piece they just can't get right. They've cycled through so many like random tier 2 AWPers that just didn't cut the mustard, and I don't know. But yeah, I think the joke is that FaZe, they made a move and now they need to make 2 moves because of it. Because signing Jacob was just like at most a side grade, at worst a downgrade over Rain. And at the same time, like you can mention Carrigan's stats as much as you want, but like Carrigan's winning majors posting 0.7 ratings. Like his fragging does not correlate with whether or not FaZe are good or not. It's all about the structure of FaZe, and we saw it earlier, right, with like the style graphs. Carrigan's teams are like 1 of 1 in how they like to play.
But why are you calling a loose style when you have a 0.6 rating? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, yes, that style can work when you have Rops, Twists, an on-form Brokey. Like, it doesn't work when you don't have elite talent. It's calling for talent that he doesn't have.
I mean, I agree for sure, which is why if I had it my way, Carrigan would go to Falcons. Like, I think that's just such a perfect move. 2 of the loosest teams, but like Carrigan can add a structure to a loose default, like spread out kind of team and make them win. Like, to me, that's exactly what I would like to see, but obviously that doesn't answer the question of
we
how
all
to
know
fix
Nico's
FaZe.
in game leading Falcons. We all know Nico's going to in game lead Falcons. Let's not fuck about here.
Yeah, very honest last answer. I think FaZe need to get rid of Jacob and Brokey. Those 2 moves have to happen if they want any chance of winning anything.
I think their stock's too damaged to find better players now, and I don't think they have the money to either.
I don't know. I don't know if money is really an issue, because I mean they can sell their current players for a lot of money, and they can like change players. I mean, even though they are not performing as well as they probably should, they are still very good players. At
I think they were
least,
willing to sell Frozen, but it never happened.
well, yeah. To be honest, I don't know what needs to happen in FaZe for them to actually perform again, because it's just so weird, because they got to the finals of the major just like a few months ago, and now they're their 3rd tournament straight going out in the first phase, and like what is actually going on? They got the same core. I mean, nothing changed, and they just cannot perform, and it's just so weird to me.
They are
Stakes
literally
changed.
they're just Virtus Pro. Polish Virtus Pro. That's what they are now. They don't turn up for any event except 1 a year. And they just sort of have this miracle run and they just go back to irrelevancy.
I think it's
they're just Polish Virtus Pro.
When you're in the stage that Carrigan is in of his career, like nothing else matters except winning the big ones. Like you can't motivate yourself to put in however many hours of prep work. Carrigan's one of those guys that does so much more prep work than anyone else. Like he will be awake at 4 a.m. just like watching more demos. He's just that kind of guy. But you know, as you get older and as you start only caring about like your career as a whole, and you know that your time is limited, you can't be wasting your time doing that for like Blast Bounty and like you can only really do it at the majors and like maybe Krakow, right? And he just doesn't have the pieces to support it.
I don't know if I agree with that, because just some weeks ago, I think or actually when they lost, I mean they were eliminated from this event. I think it was Kerrigan's wife that posted like he just got back home from the office and he's already training, like a photo of him in her Instagram stories or something like that. And I was like, I think it was last year when FaZe got a second. I don't remember what tournament it was, but they got a second place in some tournament, and Kerrigan was just like weeping on stage because they did not win. I think Kerrigan. That's why I like Kerrigan so much. He just feels the game a lot, and that's something, in my opinion, very admirable for someone who has been in tier 1 and the competitive scene for so long. And I don't know, I think it's kind of this last stand that Kerrigan is trying to do, just because he needs to win something again just to, you know, close his career with a golden key, you know. But I don't know if
Could have
it's ever
closed it
gonna
after
happen.
the major final. That was the perfect moment. It was the perfect moment to walk away. Was the miracle run to the major final, man. You can't try and catch that lightning again. I just don't think it's going to happen.
I do think it
I
will.
don't know.
I think Kerrigan's still got it. Like, he could definitely do it with the right pieces.
Yeah, but he's never going to get the right pieces again. He's just... He could have ended on such a high, man, and he's just... I don't want him to fizzle out, because everyone loves Kerrigan. His career shouldn't just fizzle out. But it really looks like it's going to, and it just hurts.
I don't want to see Kerrigan going through what Code Zero is doing at this point, you know. And I don't think it will happen, because I think, of course, Kerrigan is much more disciplined and much more willing to do this kinds of like not ideal stuff than Code Zero ever will or ever was. But I don't know. It hurts a lot to see what FaZe is going through, and I really wish that they did better, because it's just entertaining, you know. See quarterfinals or semifinals with FaZe is just something that at least I am used to, or was used to, and I really like when it happens. Anyway, I think one, like the other outlier for this specific stage of the event is Foot, right? They performed very well, and I think above what they were expected to. And I
I'd
just
say
think
it's
that
about what I expected.
It's better than I expected. Like, I will say I was fully wrong. At least so far, I've been wrong about Foot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's... I think it's a bit early to say you were completely wrong on Foot. Like, this is how good I think Foot are. This is above how good you thought they were. I don't know if... We don't know if this is an overperformance yet, so I think it's a bit early to say, like...
They've done it a couple of
like,
tournaments in a row now, which is what's impressive to me. And, like, you know, these aren't small tournaments either.
No. They're a good
and
team.
they're also very
They're
young.
just a good team.
Like, all the players are very young, and they have a lot of you know, Foot is one of these teams. They are what, in my opinion, Copenhagen Flames were at some point, right? They are just this team that will get this young talent, nourish them, and then sell to a bigger
Or not
team.
sell, as it were. They didn't sell in the winter when they had a lot of suitors, I'm pretty sure. Everyone wanted their players. They didn't
Yeah.
sell. So then I don't think they're actually... I think they're in it to win rather than in it for profit, which is different to Copenhagen Flames. They're the same in the fact that they're a talent factory, but I think they're actually trying to go for it, which
But do you
I
think
respect.
that Foot is actually going to like keep these players forever and like mind the air quotes here, but like just keep them and try to win? I don't think so, because they don't have the structure to be this T1 team, in my opinion.
They are an AWPA away from being a top 8 team. They're a top class AWPA away from being one of the best teams in the world. If they can find that AWPA, they might as well hold on to them. If they think it's too difficult to find a good enough AWPA, then they're probably better off selling, because they're not going to be a consistent top team with symmetry, however you say it, as their AWPA. But everyone else on this team is good enough, in my eyes.
I think you say that, but what team could you not say that about right now? Like, with the exception of maybe like
3D Max.
Okay, sure. But with the exception of maybe like Falcons and, I don't know, Furia, like, and Vitality, obviously. Like, what team could you not upgrade if there were good AWPers right now?
Sure. But like, I think if you put a great AWPer on Astralis, they're still Astralis. Like, they're a bit better, but I don't think they're much better. Like, FOTU's been pretty solid. G2 would obviously that would transform them. FaZe would probably make them better, but I don't think they'd be. I do think like if you put the same AWPer on FaZe or on Foot would be the better team. Obviously, Pain, Heroic, 3D Max are just worse than Foot Rifler for Rifler. You get to like the playoff teams and you're thinking, okay, maybe it's true of like Na'Vi, but I think Wonderful's pretty good. I know there's a sort of people don't really like Wonderful, but I don't have a problem. I think like for where Na'Vi are, Wonderful is perfectly serviceable.
That's my point, though, right? Like, I think Wonderful's fine as well. Wonderful is probably like the median AWPer right now, but that shows you how few like great AWPers there are.
I think he's significantly better than like Cemetery from what I've seen. So like, if they had a median AWPer like Wonderful,
so do you
I think
think
they're better
it,
than
like
Na'Vi.
if Foot can get like Simple, they would be better or worse?
Now we're talking.
Now they're better, yeah.
Give them Simple. I am interested. I am very, very I am in. I'm buying. I'm interested. Give them Simple. Let's see.
It would be wonderful, but I don't know. Like for like a smaller like Turkish org, if I'm not mistaken. So the chances of them paying for
it's impossible.
We can dream.
Maybe they can get like all the Foot players to BC Game, but that's another story.
Well, I believe BC Game tried, but they were quoted like an obscene amount.
Yeah.
Even for BC Game, who have money, I'm pretty sure they just like, yeah, no, that's not happening. Like multi-millions.
Yeah.
So that I don't think that's going to happen either, but you never know.
It would be fun. Would be funny. Anyway, apart from that, I think they're pretty much all like every other result was pretty much expected. Like the top 8 teams, if you just showed me these are the top 8 teams, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe you'd want. No, actually, no. Yeah, I agree.
I predicted it should be Vitality Falcons final, and I still think it should have been a Vitality Falcons final, if I'm being honest. But
Shoulds don't matter to Falcons. That's the problem. They never do. They never will. And they never have.
I thought actually last episode I said that it would be Furia Falcons in the finals. And, yeah,
I think I was just boring and said Vitality would win. I think I said they'd play Mouse, but I could have been wrong. I don't know. Either way, we all knew Vitality were going to win. We tried to delude ourselves into thinking otherwise. We all knew Vitality were going to win.
Oh yeah,
it was pretty much done before the tournament even started. Anyway, I think like from Cluj we kind of went over everything that could have happened, and
yeah, I think so.
There is no need to go over more stuff. I think the more interesting conversation is what's coming up next, is the deep dive in the 2 teams that actually got to the grand finals. Okay, so my question here is, and what I teased on introduction of this episode is, Vitality winning so much and being just dominant on pretty much every tournament they're playing, apart from like 2 or 3 tournaments by the end of last year that Furia won or something like that. Is it bad for the Counter-Strike scene? Because, you know, there's just these tournaments coming up, and you know Vitality is winning, so why even bother, you know? And also, at this point, right now, at this moment, I think there's just 2 teams that could feasibly win against Vitality, which is Furia and Falcons, but they are just underperforming. So, I don't know. Like, we got PARIVISION, but we'll go over them in a brief moment. But I don't know. In my opinion, when you don't have like variants and alternatives and just teams that can actually win, I think it's just worse because you don't get enough entertainment from the tournament.
So I know where you're coming from, and I remember the Astralis era and how much I hated it. But I do think the way Vitality play is more interesting to watch than Astralis. Like, I rarely watch a Vitality game and come away bored, which I think is I was very bored of watching Astralis play. Like, they had Device, who was just the thinking man superstar, which just meant he was fucking boring to watch. And Astralis generally, like, they won so many rounds before they took duels, which is just not an interesting style to watch. Whereas I think Vitality are much more fun to watch. And also, I think Vitality's dominance, they weren't that dominant at the end of last year. Like, Furia were beating them quite consistently. And not quite, but Furia were winning events. Falcons won an event. Like, they weren't infallible. What's happened is that everyone's just stood still in the roster. And like, Falcons so clearly need a freshen up. Furia, I think, are sort of, they had this sort of hot streak, and now you're sort of seeing the cracks appear in that in a way. Like, which is fine. I mean, it happens for every team. They either sort it out now, or they'll have to make a change at some point. But like, Vitality feel unbeatable because it feels like nobody is good enough to beat them. Not that they're too good, if that makes sense. Like, PARIVISION made the final here. That's an indictment.
Yeah, but
of
they
the
got bounced in the final. Like, it wasn't even.
Yeah, but it's an indictment of where Furia, Falcons, and Mouse are. Our Spirit weren't here, but like, what PARIVISION made one change. They signed a player Spirit got rid of, and all of a sudden they're able to make 2 grand finals in 3 events, because the other top teams outside of Vitality are simply just not playing as well as they can, as well as they quote unquote should. And I think that's the bigger problem. It's not Vitality, it's Furia, Falcons, Mouse.
For sure. I think that's the bigger thing for me as well, is like, there are so many teams that you can think of right now that are still like one move away from being able to compete with Vitality, and they just aren't making that move. Like, Mouse aren't going to sign a better IGL anytime soon. Like, G2 isn't going to sign a better IGL, or like maybe a Matisse replacement or something like this anytime soon. Falcons isn't going to sign like Bit or something to replace Tessers anytime
They
soon.
might.
Maybe they will,
They
right?
might.
But they haven't, right? They're at least like stalling it for quite some time. And like, there are so many teams like this where they're just one move away from being genuinely interesting to face off against Vitality. One other point as well that I don't know if you guys have considered is, very early into CSGO, obviously we had that like NIP era where they were just absolutely dominant and nobody could touch them. Then obviously we had the Astralis era, like towards the middle of CSGO, and now the CS2 era, or at least like the start of it, is being defined by this Vitality era, right? If you want to call them eras. And I think what's interesting about all three is that if you look at the actual distribution of roles and the players, like, they're remarkably similar, especially Prime Astralis and Vitality now. Like, you think about the kind of AWPer that Device was, and is ZywOo not just like a slightly better version of what Device was as like an archetype of a player? Like, kind of, right? Like, a bit more supportive maybe than the other stars, a bit more well-rounded, a bit more versatile. You said the thinking man star or whatever. Like, that's what ZywOo is now, right? The same thing again. And in that same vein, like Apex, kind of like a space taker, like used to be like an aggressive star turned IGL. Is that not what Glaive was?
I'll push back on that one. Glaive was like, I would say Glaive was the star rifler of Astralis. And I don't think that's an unreasonable thing to say. He, like, if you look back at the way Astralis played, it was like, Glaive was not an IGL in the, like, he was in the thick of things, taking like good fights. Obviously he had all his smoke tricks, but he was like quite like arguably their star rifle. I think you'd be looking at like Zipnix would be more like Apex in a way.
I think Zipnix is like Mezzi. Like, it almost perfectly aligns. Like, overqualified support player that's good in the clutch. Like, it's crazy actually how one-to-one some of these are.
I think in terms of style, maybe in terms of role, less so, I think.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. But yeah, Flames and Dupree, you know, in my opinion at least.
Flames and Dupree is completely fair. Yeah, they're very similar.
And I've done this experiment as well. Like, if you take a whole year's worth of data from both Prime Astralis from like 2018 and Vitality from last year, and you like plot visually where the players are across a bunch of different metrics, they're right next to each other. It's actually really fascinating. I'll have to like do some article on this or something at some point.
Yeah, I'd read that.
You know, I don't know how true this is, but I read this on X maybe a few days ago. And Vitality can win 2 Grand Slams in a year if they just keep winning, right? And that's just
Wow.
absurd. Like that's just, to me, it's like I don't like having to witness that kind of dominance, you know, because I like when things are, when you know, the underdog can win, and when this team that comes from stage 1, like imagine if FaZe won last major, you know, like that team coming from stage 1 and actually winning. I think that's just more interesting. But then we got PARIVISION, which is this team that just got James and 4 guys from the streets as quoting their captain. And they're actually, as you guys said, in the grand final of 2 of the big 3 tournaments that we had in this past 2 months. And I don't know, like, it's interesting to me to see how good they're actually performing, even though they're not performing well individually. At least not in this last tournament. And at the same time, like, is this, as Elliott was saying just a moment ago, is this a problem of the other teams not performing as well as they could be, or is just PARIVISION doing something different? Because Fallon posted one video in his personal channel yesterday, I think, or the day before yesterday, analyzing, like, going deep on a PARIVISION game and just pointing out why they're different and what they're doing differently. And they, like, their game is pretty, like, singular if comparing to some other teams in the way that they play this very, like, intelligent, slow game. And I don't know, like, are they the real deal, or they're just a consequence of other teams not performing as well as they could?
They're a real deal. They're not the real deal. They're like the fifth or sixth best team in the world who can make a run when other teams trip up. They're like a slightly better version of what Aurora were probably 12, 18 months ago. Where they're like Aurora but with a bit of a clutch factor. Which is like enough to actually make grand finals when these teams mess up. But like as Sam said, like they should have lost to Falcons. And then we'd just be thinking like we'd still be discussing the they 6th or they 8th or they 10th, like, but they're just so resilient. They are really hard to put away, and that can't be understated how difficult it is to actually beat them. Vitality made it look easy on one of the maps, but even on 2 of the others, like they didn't put them away easily, and they just make games so attritional, and that's what I think ended up getting them the win over Mouse. Mouse on stage, you've just got to give them enough rope, and they'll hang themselves.
Game has such a good history of that as well, right? Like, you think about his VP teams prior, it's like, he's fantastic at taking a team where you're like, why are they here? And yet they're just permanently coming like 4th or 5th or 6th at events and tripping up these teams where you're like, I wanted them in the grand final, not James. You know, like, that's kind of the history of his career.
I always want James in the grand final, man. Like, he's so, like, the way his teams play is so unique, and on Virtus Pro, less so on PARIVISION, but on Virtus Pro, I think the way he attempted to play Counter-Strike was he was attempting to play perfect Counter-Strike, so that when they did play well, they were genuinely unstoppable. Because you couldn't not use your utility in the minute and a half going, because they would keep like pushing you to use every bit of utility, and then when there was 15 seconds left, they would hit you with a perfect execute. You had no utility. It was a work of art, some of the rounds, especially on like Overpass. He was a ridiculously good caller on Overpass on Virtus Pro. It's like, there's nobody who plays like him. It's so nice to have him back to me, because it's like he actually will punish these sloppy, loose teams that nobody else other than Vitality seems to actually punish. 3D Max can do it, but they're just not good enough.
No, 3D Max cannot do it. Like, they can punish FaZe.
As in, no, they always lose to FaZe. Stylistically, they can like punish these loose teams. They're just do not have any firepower, so it just doesn't matter. Like, it's a waste of time.
I don't know. Paravision is a big question mark to me because at some like in some rounds I just think Jesus Christ, this is the best team the world has ever seen, and then the next round they're just the
They
worst.
look lost.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love them.
and I don't even know what's happening. There's that play from James, I think it was in Dust 2, where he just lets the two guys
Oh,
pass
so
right
good.
by him, and then he kills all three of them, and it's just what the fuck. Like
The,
this is
the better one of that was it in the grand final where
Yep.
he let Flames walk past him.
Yep.
Flames was trying to flank on the CT side. He let him walk past. He went out long, called for his team to watch Flames. Flames got domed, and then James was out long. And ZywOo's thinking, I've got 4 seconds before I need to turn around here. And James right there. Like, I was trying to think, like, if I'm ZywOo in this situation, what the like, I'd be thinking, what the fuck has just happened? How is he here? Like,
Yeah.
I genuinely wouldn't be able to figure out what had happened. And it would take, like, a minute. You'd be like, he must have let me pass. He must have let you pass. There's no way, like, unless he's hit, like, 6 bunny hops in a row, he can't be here. And like, but that play never would have occurred to me. The one where he let the first guy go, I was like, okay, that probably would have occurred to me at the time. Letting Flames go there, telling your team to kill him so you can get 2 for 0 instead of just a free kill, I'd never have considered.
It's exactly James
just never
Counter-Strike, isn't it? Like it's all about nerdy percentages and like punishing that you didn't happen to clear this one corner this one time and now you've lost the round. It's the most frustrating thing if you're the other team. And so yeah, like if you're prone to tilt or whatever, like of course Falcons are gonna lose to them, aren't they? Like
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Spot on.
Okay. I think we've talked enough about Paravision and Vitality. We still got some stuff to go over, so let's go ahead and let's go to quick hits. Okay, so in this segment we're going to go very quickly over the Roman Imperium Cup 5 that just happened in Portugal, and it was the 100 Thieves debut and Passion UA also debuting with Try, not with Senzu yet. Because I think there was some issues with as their coach I think said there was some issues with Senzu's English. Yeah, so it still could take a while until Senzu is fully integrated into the team, but anyway, I don't have insider info here, but it was just interesting to see, right? Because HOTU won the grand final against General Mates after losing for no 13-0, and then Norbert of all people got like a 2.101 rating in Overpass. So a lot of weird stuff happened in that tournament, but I think the biggest
100 Thieves. The biggest one's 100
the
Thieves,
biggest thing here is
that's what
100
everyone's
Thieves.
here
Yeah.
for. 100 Thieves got battered in their opening game by NIP, and you're going, oh, here we go. But they then beat Bestia and then beat NIP in a return in the same day, by the way. Like, there wasn't even 24 hours between that. Like, it's in the same day. They beat them 2-1. Lost the same map they lost in the best of 1, and then won the other 2, which is, you know, something. They were much better on Nuke the second time around. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of embarrassing for NIP, but when is it not?
I think as
It's
well.
always embarrassing for NIP.
I think as well, like the most interesting parallel here is BC Game and 100 Thieves, because they're like the only team that's kind of doing something similar, right? Like you're taking a really experienced like ex-superstar AWPer and you're taking a veteran like role player, I guess, Rain and Electronic, and you're putting them with like 3, maybe not youngsters, because obviously there's Muterists on BC Game, but like it's kind of the same thing. So it'll be interesting to see which of them does better in the long run.
I also think 100 Thieves have indexed harder on the youngsters, as in the other players, because Device does not look that great, but the kids they signed actually, like when you look at them, you're like, oh yeah, no, you can see why they've signed these. Whereas BC Game have gone like, we've got Simple, we'll just put any old fucking shit around him. Like they haven't signed Muterus, Crazy Aragorn, because they think they're talented. They've signed them because they have VRS points.
Also, 100 Thieves
Whereas
signed the other one, right? They signed the Agile guy or whatever.
Yeah, who actually looked half decent. Like he's like a support player at the 1.1 generally, I think. So not bad. Like he's probably the one you'd want. I would anyway.
I think this tournament, to be honest, was just like some good fun for these teams to just, you know, practice a bit in a kind of tier 2 event, tier like 2.5 event.
Yeah.
And I mean, I really wanted to see Passion UA with Senzu, but I guess we'll have time to see that in the future. But to be honest, like, I think this tournament was a big win for 100 Thieves because they won against Neep and Bestia, which are teams which are very much closer to the top 10 than they are. And they got a bunch of VRS points for that. I think it was 118 points, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a lot. Yeah. And like for a team who, like, their objective is to go to tier 1 events, right? And they are trying to like gather the VRS points to do that. So they're in the right track. Anyway, enough about that. Let's go very quickly over our segments or branded segments for the day. Right, so you guys already know how this works. I will read the statement and you guys either buy or sell. And I will actually do the same thing I did with Dota. You guys have 3 buys and 3 sells, and you don't know what's coming up next. So think very clearly about your decisions here. Okay, so first statement is Vitality will win a Grand Slam before the Cologne Major.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, pretty sure on that one.
Yeah, pretty.
I can't see anyone beating them, so bye.
Atlanta, surely.
Yeah.
Pro League,
yeah, Atlanta is very easy, I think, for them to just get the win. So yeah, I agree with you guys on that one. Number 2, PARIVISION are a top 3 team in the world right now.
Sell. I love PARIVISION, but sell.
They're like 8th
they're like 5th or 6th.
7th or 8th, I'd say, but we're in the same range.
Yeah, but I think as the higher you get, the more those incremental ones matter. They're 6th, maybe 5th. I might think they're better than Mouse. I'm not sure yet.
Okay, good. So 1 buy and 1 sell for now. Okay, number 3. FaZe need to make a roster change before IEM Rio, which is 2 months away.
Right, so I'm going to say sell because I don't think there's anyone they can get before IEM Rio that's actually any good. They do need to make a roster change, but not until there's other players on the market. They've already missed out on like Senzu, who might have been useful. So I'm going to go sell. And I also have a feeling Pedro's setting us up for a bit of a, so
I might be.
I'm
going to say buy just because I think FaZe should have signed Dexter like a year ago. Like, as soon as Simple didn't work out, I would have bought Dexter instantly.
The toxic Ukrainian didn't work. Let's try the
But it's not they
Russian.
didn't work, right? Or allegedly, it's that they didn't have the money to acquire him longer term. So
yeah.
I will change this next one for a discussion I've been wanting to have for some time now. So I will, at this moment, I am erasing the next statement and doing this new one. With Simple, FaZe would have been a top 3 team in the world until now.
buy.
3? Top 3? And you're saying buy?
I'm saying
I've
buy.
only got one sell left, but I'm using it on that. I'm buying whatever other shit you've got. This isn't sell.
Really?
Look, I've got to buy that just because
Jacob on it.
it didn't at the time. It had a liege.
That's even worse.
No, I don't think so. Look, I've heard
Elite and Simple on a team. They're going to kill each other.
probably true, and I have heard that allegedly people would maybe not necessarily liking playing with a liege long term. But at the same
Nobody
time,
likes playing with a liege.
at the same time, that's just such a stacked roster, and it's got Carrigan. Like it would probably win like a couple prestige events. I reckon at least one for sure. Maybe not top three is a bit of a stretch. Top 5, maybe. I don't know. But then think about who's top 5 right now. Like they'd beat like Mouse, I reckon, pretty consistently.
In a playoff game, yes. In a group stage game, no.
And like Navi,
Which is where they're at
and, like,
anyway.
Okay, let me rephrase it then. Who would they not be able to beat in the current like top 6? Let's say.
They'd be able to beat anyone. That's not my problem.
Consistently,
my problem isn't
then.
what they're able to do. It's
Consistently.
Consistently, I don't think they could beat anyone. They just refuse. Like the problem is that simple and like the vibes in that team. I hate the word vibe, but like the vibes in that team would just be awful. Like you
I mean, they
can't
weren't
have
great in
Simple and Unleashed
Navi,
together.
but they still like won a major dominantly in 2021.
I think they were all right at that point. It was when they had Nipple in that it became a problem. I don't know, I'm not having it. I'm not having it. It's a sell for me.
I'm still buying.
Okay, so just to be clear, Elliott, you have 2 buys.
I have 2
now,
buys. Yeah.
and Sam, you have 1 buy and 1 sell. Okay. So next one is Navi will still have the same roster until Cologne Major.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to buy.
I'm
I
buying.
mean, yeah, they will. They'll buy anyway. Like they will. Even though they shouldn't. Like, I'm pretty sure they're gonna get frozen for Makazi at some point, or somebody for Makazi. They're clearly trying. They wanted Senzu, so that would have been for Makazi. Frozen.
Do you
makes a lot
guys
of
think
sense.
Makaze is a problem here? Like,
Might have been for
honestly?
Alexi
The
B.
problem
I've
is
heard.
just not that good. Really?
Yeah, I've heard apparently Navi might have been interested in getting rid of LXEV and Imma would take up IGLing. So like I don't
That
know.
would make some sense. Yeah.
I don't know whether it would be Makaze or Alexi, but yeah, you could imagine it going either way.
Either way, I'm buying. They're gonna have the same roster because I have to buy. But I don't think they'll change before the major. I think they'll change after the major.
Okay, and the last statement is PARIVISION would beat Spirit in a BO3 right now.
Sell.
Bye. Let me just figure out my reasoning. Do you want to go first, Sam?
Yeah, they're a worse team, and Spirit has Donk, and that's kind of
Compelling.
it. Yep, QED.
Compelling. Well. Last time PARIVISION played Spirit, they beat them, and you're only as good as your last result. So it's a buy from me. I mean, if there's a team that can figure out how to stop a loose team with 2 superstars and 2 weak links, 1 weak link, 2 weak links, it's Jame team. Like he will abuse. He will find out where Magix is playing, and he will hit him over and over and over again. And they will
It's just bullying
out-discipline
at this point.
Spirit. They will out-discipline Spirit. They could beat Spirit in a better 3 quite. Like it's definitely not like more than like 55-45 in Spirit's favor. I'd be willing to say like if you gave me better than even odds on PARIVISION, I'm buying. Even without the fact that I have to buy. Like
Okay.
I actually do think like if you gave me better than even odds, I'd probably take PARIVISION.
Okay, good. This was fun. I like the dynamics here. Okay, so let's look ahead and just some big moves and actually big tournaments coming up with EPL. In the next few weeks, we have EPL coming up, which is pretty big, as we know. Playoffs are going to be played in Stockholm, and this is the Grand Slam point. So this is something big, but also Vitality and Falcons are not going to play in this event because they're going to Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken, right? So I don't know, weird to me, because I thought that this was just like Vitality's Grand Slam and that was it, but they're probably betting in Atlanta, which is probably even easier, so understandable, I guess. But either way, I mean, EPL is just this traditional event. You know, I wouldn't want to miss it, but I'm not Vitality or Falcons, so what do I know?
I would say like it's actually we'll actually start to see if PARIVISION are better than Spirit and Mouse now. We'll actually have a good shout at finding out, because without Vitality there, there's no like team. The problem is if you come up against Vitality in the quarterfinals, that's it. Your tournament's over, and you never get a chance to prove if you're a top 4 team. So they don't have that big black mark.
So EPL is just going to be like who wins the Lord of the Flies style kid on kid fight when dad isn't home. Like that's the story of this tournament, right?
Dad's not home. Season 23.
Yeah, I mean, I think this will be a fun tournament to watch, just because, you know, Vitality is not in it. So I would keep posted on that. And of course, we will talk about this for the coming weeks. So keep posted in Win Condition if you want to hear everything about it. Then after that, we got, like, of course, Atlanta and Astana, if I'm not mistaken. And then we got IEM Rio, which I would be there. So cool. Anyway, so I think that is pretty much it for this episode. We went over Cluj, we went over Sam's graphs, we went over what else? Well, Vitality and PARIVISION. And I think that's about it. Any comments to close the episode?
Let's hope PARIVISION are one of the best teams in the world, because it would just be really funny.
I guess I'll be sure to cook up some more nonsense graphics for next episode.
Yeah, pretty. Your graph is, like, when I saw that graph on the T side, I was very impressed. Like, very, very impressed, to be honest. Anyway, so thank you all for listening to this episode. As you know, go and follow these guys on social media. They're very good in what they do. Also, read our articles in ready.gg. At ready.gg, actually. And yeah, I'll see you all next week. Stay ready, stay informed. That's your own condition.